This week on Media Delta. There is perhaps no action movie with the same cultural impact than the 1988 film Die Hard. This film, based on the Roderick Thorpe novel Nothing Lasts Forever, practically created an entire genre of its own. While there have been plenty of movies before it where one person stands alone against a massive force, Die Hard brought it down to earth by focusing on the everyman characteristics and vulnerabilities of the protagonist, which became part of the charm. It was natural then, that since this film came out in the era where console video games were becoming all the rage, that multiple games based on Die Hard would be made. As of this recording, we have only covered the NES game through Retro Rank Rhapsody, but that will not be the only one. Before we rank those through Retro Rank Rhapsody, let's take a look to see if the film holds up to the hype, as we look at Die Hard, the movie. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Media Delta. By the time that this is going to be released, and I believe, if my schedule is correct, this will be releasing on December 12th. That puts it in prime time for the holiday season. And what better time to celebrate, or what better movie to celebrate that with than Die Hard? Which, it's a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie, damn it.
Yes. But to talk about this Christmas movie, which, by the way, probably should mention the fact that, yeah, as this is a game that, or not game, a movie that has had several games based on it, it is definitely something that we should take a look at in terms of movies that had games based on it. And here to talk about this movie with me, I have three others. So, please introduce yourself in alphabetical order.
Hey, I'm Max. I'm the first. That's all I got. Next person.
I'm next in alphabetical order.
Too long, though.
Oh, I'm last.
Thank you.
I'm TorpidTypist, and I love Rudy Tooty point and shooting.
Perfect. All right. So, Die Hard. Yes, it is an action movie staple.
It's so good.
It is a movie that came out in 1988. Kind of almost out of nowhere, because the director of this movie I don't think he made anything. Okay, take it back. He definitely made a lot of things, but at this point, this was his third movie. The director of this movie is John. Oh, let's see. It is John McTiernan, I believe is how you pronounce that. Other movies that he has directed are Predator, Hunt for the Red October, Flight of the Intruder, Last Action Hero, the remake of the Thomas Crown Affair, and Rollerball. And those are kind of his most prominent ones. But yes, this movie is based on a novel released by Roderick Thorpe called Nothing Lasts Forever, which is basically, that novel is in itself part of a series that it is a sequel to another novel called The Detective, which, oddly enough, the character who plays, well, Bruce Willis's character in Die Hard was actually originally played by Frank Sinatra. Just as a point of trivia. So imagine Frank Sinatra as John McClane.
I try not to.
Yeah, that'd be really weird. But anyway, the screen play was written by two people, Jeb Stewart and one Stephen E. D'Souza. And it's kind of notable because it didn't really have any big name actors to it when it originally came out. Because the biggest name at the time, it was actually something that would be kind of controversial when it came out, because it was a weird casting. Bruce Willis as John McClane, the main action hero. Because at this point in time, in 1988, Bruce Willis was definitely not an action hero. The only big role that he had at this point was as one of the main characters in the comedy, it's almost, I believe it's a rom-com called Moonlighting, where he played one of the lead characters. So it's kind of like when Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, or I guess, well, not
Clooney.
or Clooney was dressed or classed as Batman. And it was like, why do you have this comedy actor, also a musician at this point? Because I think people kind of forget that he was actually a musician at some point.
Bruce Willis was a musician?
Yes.
Yeah, by this reaction, you could tell about how good his music was.
I had no idea this dude did music. Okay.
Yeah, there's a reason, I guess.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to find. I'm gonna.
I
have to find
believe it
some-
was actually a rap album too that he worked
Oh
on.
no!
Oh,
okay.
no!
No, I can't. I can't
Oh,
imagine that.
that's tragic.
I'm assuming it's Marky Mark levels of bad.
Maybe
Even
I don't
worse.
know. But yes, hey, Bruce Willis as the main character, John McClane. Everyone else really did not have. There weren't really any big names, at least at the time, because a big name now, a definite big name now, that had his film debut in this movie is one Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, at this point in time,
I can't believe Hans Gruber killed Dumbledore.
yeah. Now I'm just thinking, yeah, there's Harry Potter games on the Game Boy Color, wasn't there? At least on the
shit.
PlayStation. Shit.
You're just looking for a way to get Harry Potter in.
I'm just trying to hope that I didn't have to, but now that I realize, I think I might have
Hold
to.
on.
God damn it.
There's a bunch of Harry Potter games.
Yeah. Anyway,
Hold on. I'm looking it up. Yeah, Game Boy Color, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
I'm pretty sure there was a PlayStation game based on that shit. I'm gonna have to look at that at some point.
You're forgetting Reginald Val Johnson.
Oh, right, Reginald Val Johnson. Right. But he was, yes. So he was more, because Family Matters was on at this point. Oh, I forgot that he was in Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But yes, those were kind of the main actors. Or like the prominent actors, I guess, in that movie. Outside of two very notable character actors, when we'll get to their characters later on, because they play... The actors who play them, or that play those characters, they have a type. And boy howdy are they that type in this movie. But anyway.
I just wanted to let you know, Lolo, you're released from Fear because it's all post 2001.
Yeah, but if it's a PlayStation game.
Oh, okay, never mind then. Yeah, you're screwed.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess we just really go and dive into the movie, because the music in this movie, I don't think there was really anything notable outside of a huge amount. Yeah, a lot of Ode to Joy.
A lot of Ode to Joy, but also like a lot of the music had like fucking like Christmas bells.
Yep.
Yes.
And it was
And
mostly
I hated it.
It was there wasn't like a real, like, as far as from I remember, it wasn't like a noticeable soundtrack. It was really just more sort
It
of
was largely
atmosphere.
ambient.
Yeah. Also,
No, it
Jingle
was
Bells are the
there
worst.
to emphasize the action and all that,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. It was never really on display.
I also want it on record that Jingle Bells are the single worst instrument next to the chord.
And
And
it's
Kenny-
in every fucking track.
Yeah, because it's fucking Christmas.
It's
Yeah.
awful. It's
I'm-
so bad.
I'm looking at the soundtrack listing on IMDb, and all of it is Christmas standards, with the exception of two actual like recorded songs. One being Christmas in Hollis by Rum DMC, and a version of Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, performed by Vaughn Monroe.
But don't worry, it's not a Christmas movie.
No, definitely
it's-
not a
yeah, it's
Christmas.
definitely
It's
not.
a Christmas
Also-
movie.
Also, apparently, there's two songs that were also used in other movies. There is a song that apparently it's not listed in the credits, but a song from Aliens apparently is somewhere played in here. Also, a song from Man on Fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'd have to rewatch it because I did watch Aliens last year.
It could be. It's listed on the IMDb thing, which that anyone can edit that, so it could all be bullshit.
Yeah, it could be.
Um,
I feel like if I had heard something that was from Aliens, I probably would have picked up on it though.
yeah.
Because Aliens' soundtrack was fairly like significant. You could tell it was an Aliens movie.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But yeah, I guess
that was a
really.
start.
Yeah, because really the thing about this is that it's such a staple of the action genre that I guess really the only like thing to go is just to talk about it, because its plot is basically has been reused enough times that it's kind of a trope. Well, in the sense of a TV trope kind of thing, but it's Die Hard on an X. It's such a thing that
To be fair, the plot itself is relatively straightforward, bare bones kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we start this movie looking at an airplane as John McClane is visiting his kind of estranged wife, who has taken a job in Los Angeles. Because he has been, I can't remember if his wife actually, his wife's name's Holly, is actually invited him out, or if what exactly the thing was. But essentially, he is landing in LA. He is a New York cop, which the person sitting next to him finds out by the fact that, remembering that this is pre 9/11, and the fact that he's just straight up carrying a gun on the plane.
Yep.
But granted, he is also a cop. But anyway,
don't forget he gives him important advice about his nerves.
yes.
Yes.
Because he hates flying, and the passenger sitting next to him gives him this tip for how to deal with jet lag, which is, and just the stress of being on an airplane, which is to find a room of carpet, take off your shoes, and just kind of grasp the carpet with your toes.
Ball them up into little fists, he said.
Make fists
And
with your toes.
it's great because this feels like a throwaway line.
Yes, it does.
Nothing in this movie is a throwaway line, which is the weird part.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of, I guess I kind of need to put it out there. This is the first time that I've ever seen this movie. I've never watched this movie before until literally last week when I watched it for this podcast. And I'd always wondered, because I knew the main things about it, the yippee-ki-yay line, all the little things here and there. But the one thing I always never understood, having not seen it, is something we're going to talk about in a bit, and I'll bring it up when we get to that point.
Yeah. So
I'm just going to say it now. There is no throwaway in this movie, and that's probably the weirdest part about it.
Yeah, this movie's really, really smart for an action movie.
Really well thought out, yeah.
Yes. So, basically, John goes to visit his wife, who is currently a high-level, a high-level executive, for the she is an executive for the Nakatomi, company. Was it just Nakatomi or Corporation?
Yeah, I think it's just Nakatomi Corp.
Oh, who recently had a building, who was, I believe, in the process of having their own building being constructed. And
it's almost done, but there are a few unfinished floors.
Yeah, and there is a Christmas party being held on a high floor.
The 30th floor.
It's like
30th floor.
Yep.
This is relevant.
It's the 30th floor.
So he goes up to visit her, and it is a 80s ass executive party, because you can tell, because people are boning in various random rooms, and everyone's doing coke.
Yes.
Well,
the
one person is doing a lot of coke.
Y'all don't do coke at your office parties?
No.
No, because I'm not part of office parties.
But
on my free time, though, I refuse to say anything that will implicate me with the police.
Yes, I mean...
Good stuff.
I mean, I'm not a cop, and I have to legally say that if I'm a cop. I am not a cop, which cannot be said for John McClane, who is currently visiting his wife.
The perfect segue.
On the 30th floor, where they get into an argument, because one of the things that is kind of annoying John, or making him very angry, is the fact that when Holly took the job in Los Angeles, she is now going by her maiden name of Holly Gennaro, which is a argument that John and Holly get into almost immediately when he walks into her office. And then basically, they have a fight, and it goes kind of sour. But while they're arguing, someone tries to calls in Holly to say, "Hey, can you give a kind of a message to the people there to kind of rally them up, because it's a Christmas party after all." To which, after this, John kind of goes into the private bathroom of the office and does the trick of taking off his shoes and making little fists with his feet. However, while this is also going down, also I forgot, we completely missed a thing. In order to get John to the building, there is a limo sent for him, who is driven by one Argyle, who is apparently the first time he's ever driven a limousine, and this guy is really great.
He's just. I wish there was more of him in the movie, to be honest.
Yeah, so he is. He is great. Also, the limo list as having all this sort of stuff in it.
Yeah, I actually have this written down. So the limo has, and this is everything that the kid lists off in the movie: a CD player, CB radio, TV, telephone, a full bar, and a VHS player.
All of these except for the VHS player are relevant.
Yes.
And then Willis proceeds to sit in the front of the damn limo.
Also, don't forget the giant teddy bear.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's holding a giant teddy bear because he is also there to visit his kids.
Yep.
So,
it is Christmas Eve.
It is. So
you'd say this is a Christmas movie?
No, it's a Christmas Eve movie, dipshit.
Yeah, the very underserved Christmas Eve movie market.
It's a very specific genre of film.
Yeah, it's actually the type of movie that the American Greeting Company TV channel makes instead of the Hallmark. At least that's what it should be. If they're
That's
smart.
too good for me to be mad at.
But
That's
yes,
awesome.
While all this is going on, also Argyle is hanging out in the limo because he thinks it's only going to take a little while. Unfortunately, while this is all going on, a group of bad guys comes in and storms the building, and all kind of sort of sneakily comes in and takes out the front guard, and basically they kind of rush into the group of workers and kind of take everyone hostage. They rip people out of offices, but oddly enough, not the one that John's in. Or they're just about to take it.
Also, John was introduced to his wife's boss.
Oh yes,
and I distinctly remember a throwaway line about you don't celebrate Christmas over where you are.
Oh,
and first off, this dude's been raised in America all his fucking life, and second off, actually, Japan does celebrate Christmas to an extent.
Yeah.
Christianity is an international religion. It's not just...
Well, it's our fault entirely, actually.
I mean, yes.
I don't know what you're talking about, Shifting Eyes.
There's also another good line that he delivers. Also, the boss is Mr. Takagi.
Yes.
When he's Mr. Takagi introduces John to one of Holly's coworkers, Ellis, who we are introduced to him as he is snorting a massive line of coke. Just
immediately see him doing a fat line off his desk.
Which Mr. Takagi says, "Oh, I'd like you to meet Holly's husband, Holly's policeman." Which she just kind of shrugs off, which I thought that was a good line.
It's pretty good.
But also, yes. Ellis sucks. Let's get that out there.
Oh, yeah.
Quickly.
Ellis sucks, but he intentionally sucks. He's meant to suck.
He's meant to suck, but he still sucks. That's the important part.
Yeah, he really sucks.
Oh boy, does he suck.
He is, because we're introduced to him not just with him doing that line, but he's also desperately trying to get him a piece of Mrs. McClane.
Yes. So... you see a scene as I guess at this point, what you can think would be terrorists are storming the offices, and there's a lot of little details that you can miss on the first viewing. You see a scene of you just barely miss it of one of the terrorists is taking this woman and man who are just clearly having sex. She just straight up has her shirt off.
Yep.
Yeah, no, they are straight up plowing.
Yeah, you get some boobage in that.
Yeah, no, she got her titty out.
Yep. And yes, it is. So we see a bunch of the terrorists you can hear are speaking German, which will also come in handy, or come into the plot.
It comes into play. Yeah.
Yes, because the leader we also are also introduced to before we do that. John happens to see a chance that he manages to get away, and he runs to a stairwell. So he is not caught. But
and he goes up.
He goes up the floor and tries to basically get the help. But
keeping in mind that he's still shoeless because he was practicing that technique that person. So not only does he not have shoes, he has no socks.
Yeah, he's barefoot.
And this is what I was alluding to before. Was I didn't understand. In the game, you walk across glass on your feet, and it damages your health.
No, we'll worry about that later.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, I didn't understand why he was doing this movie.
Yeah.
Shoeless.
Yeah. It's
and that scene.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
So, as John runs upstairs, we are introduced to the leader of the terrorist, one Hans Gruber, who is Alan Rickman's character. Basically, he's
the leader of the bunch. You know him well.
Leader of the pack.
Yes. And he is a very, I wouldn't say maybe intelligent, but he is played off to be very, he is not dumb. He's
very smart and very posh.
Yes. Incredibly posh. Because, he is basically okay, we are looking for basically the leader of we are looking for Mr. Takagi, because we specifically want him. And in order to say this, he is listing off a listing of all of his credentials, where he was born, where he attended college, the companies he worked at, the number of kids he has, and just giving his life story.
5 kids.
He has 5 kids.
He's also pretty much raised in the U.S. all his life.
Yep. But then Mr. Takagi basically at some point is okay, here I am. Just go ahead and take me. They take him off to a separate area, which also there is another great line where basically Hans is running or walks past one of the terrorists, and he kind of gives him a weird look. It's how'd you know that? And he's yeah, I read it in Times Magazine.
It's true. It's a pretty good line.
Which has time more than once, but anyway. So yeah, they take Mr. Kagi, and that is where we actually see what the main plot of, or what are these guys after? And it turns out, in the vault, or there is a vault inside the Nakatomi building that has a lot of money.
$635 million with bearer bonds.
Yes, and these are not terrorists; these are thieves. They want that money.
Boy, howdy, do they want that money?
Bearer bonds are actually a really good thing to steal because literally whoever has the bearer bonds is the one who can cash them out.
Yeah. Also, we see more of his posh side as basically one of the first thing when Hans is talking to Mr. Takagi, basically is listing all of the things that he has on and the designer, tailor, all sorts of things. Which, yeah, it's a really good thing from seeing compared
Even
to other action movies.
Suits from the same tailor.
Yeah. Also, just a point, because I happen to have the Wikipedia article because I want to make sure that I have some things right. Apparently, there is talks at some point to have Arnold Schwarzenegger play John McClane. And he declined it because he wanted to try comedy, instead did the movie Twins.
Good.
Oh my god.
Everything is right with the world.
And what's interesting is I think this wouldn't have been as good of a movie if Schwarzenegger had played the role of McClane. Because
Schwarzenegger doesn't have the actual acting range.
And this character calls for not an action star, but sort of a down on his luck schlubby kind of dude. And even though Willis doesn't look like a schlubby dude, he plays him fairly well. Like
he was a solid actor. And the thing that we noted when we were watching through is like the faces he makes are actually really fucking good.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's because Schwarzenegger's too hammy. It's that Schwarzenegger is he has like one or two styles, and he doesn't have a lot of range to those styles. Whereas Willis, he could kind of switch it up. Like if he needs to be serious, he could be serious. If he needs to be a little bit of campy, he could be a little bit campy. And he could dial it up and down as he needs to, and he does that really well in this movie.
Yeah,
like he has those moments where okay, I'm gonna be that part, and then it's like, oh, but now I'm sort of like that scared, doting husband kind of thing. Like he moves from different roles really well, which Schwarzenegger couldn't have done.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, then we see that basically they are asking Mr. Takagi because they want access to the vault, which is the way it works. Mr. Takagi can't do anything about it. Like he's like, I can't give you anything because even if I give it to you, they're just going to change it because the instructions to it are in Tokyo. And basically, there's a good line. He's like, because Hans has a gun to his head, basically saying, "Hey, you need to give us this." And then Mr. Kagi says, basically, because he starts counting down to get the information, he's like, "Well, you're just going to have to kill me." And then Hans just goes,
Okay.
And then shoots him in the head.
Yep.
It is also at this point where, because also, John has also gotten to the point where he happened to be in the area where this was taking place. So he saw that happen. But also, this is where he kind of makes a noise when he sees that, and the bad guys happen to notice that, oh, there's someone there, and they send, I believe it wasn't Carl, who they sent someone after him.
Some schlub.
And they basically get into a fight. Yeah, it's very long-haired, very German man.
I mean, that describes a bunch of them.
Yes.
Very German.
Yeah. Tall, built strong.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever got... no, I think it was Carl. Was the first one to go.
So I can't remember if Carl is like the... No, Carl is big... Carl's the big...
Yeah, it wasn't
dude.
Carl. Whoever it was...
Tony.
Looked like he... Yeah.
Was it Tony?
Apparently it's Tony.
No. No.
Because it's the brother of Carl.
Tony, yeah, it's Tony. I just looked it up.
But yes, they send him after it, and basically... by the way, all these terrorists have basically MP5s with them, so they have some machine guns with them.
Some of them have assault rifles, and one of them even has an LMG.
Yeah, they do have an LMG with them. Yeah, one of them has... We'll get to him in a second, but yeah, there is a very prominent weapon featured in this.
Prominent for you.
Well, prominent for people who play Counter-Strike. Because yeah, the AUG shows up in this movie. It was like one of the first movies to just have this movie, or to have that gun in it.
Good old stare AUG.
But yes, yeah, basically, Tony and...
Also, I distinctly remember the first dude that John McClane marks just looks like he belonged at like a fucking... just like an ad for a computer. Like he had like a fucking short blonde, like bowl cut. He had like big glasses.
Yep, that's Tony.
Good old Tony.
Yeah, it is.
I was like, man, this dude should be programming computer, shouldn't he?
Oh yeah.
He had a look.
Yeah. But basically, John gets the upper hand, and basically they just kind of grapple. This is one thing I will say about the movie, like the fights in this movie that I really like, is their fights. They're not like they're not trying to be theatrical about it. It's just people like grapple, like they're just grappling each other, just punching, just
beating the ever-loving shit out of each other.
They're very, like, I don't want to say intimate, but they're very personal kind of battles.
It is a brawl. It is not like think of like a Schwarzenegger fight. No, it is them grappling each other and just yelling at each other.
It's two guys who just want to fucking survive.
And it's not like, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's realistic, but it does have that tinge of realism to it, where like a fight like that's not going to be a bunch of dudes, they lock arms and all of a sudden like that's very dramatic. No, a regular fight is you're grabbing at them, you're slapping at them, you're punching them, you're doing whatever you can in that moment. You're not thinking, you're just fighting.
It's another thing I appreciate about this movie, though, is that Bruce Willis eats a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's not the indestructible hero.
No,
Yeah.
he eats so much shit.
Yeah, like Tony and John just go tumbling down a whole lot of stairs, which is when basically it was through that actually John manages to kill Tony.
Because I think he grabs onto Tony and they both go down the stairs, but he manages to land in such a way where he gets Tony killed.
He landed on top, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he snaps his neck or something like that.
Yep.
And that's when
He also kills. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's on for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's where basically John once he kills him or basically takes a look and sees like, this is a fake ID. And then also happens to see like, oh, these guys are carrying detonators of some sort. And like there's carrying a whole bunch of stuff.
He notes specifically that there's C4 in there.
Yeah, there's C4.
He doesn't notice C4 until later.
Yeah, that's a later section.
No, this guy just has a submachine gun and ammo.
He has a gun and a radio.
Cigarettes, a lighter, and a radio.
Yeah.
And then
Also, he sends Submachine Gun Boy with a message.
Well, yep, and that is once he kind of realizes that because he like, I'll just take this gun. And then at this point, he is also trying to find a way to get a hold of the police. But yes, before he does that, he notices he basically is like, I'm going to send a message, and basically straps Tony's corpse to a chair, sends it down the elevator to the 30th floor, but also somehow writes a message on his gray jacket. Now I have a machine gun.
I'm pretty sure.
What was that?
Ho, ho, ho.
I'm pretty sure it was a sweater.
Oh, a sweater.
Yeah, it was a sweater.
It was a sweater that he's written on it. Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
And he put a Christmas hat on it.
Yes,
it's not a Christmas movie. Shut up.
Oh yeah, he wrapped him up in tinsel too. It's
a festive holiday hat. Get it right.
Yeah. And also around this, there's also a thing where basically he tries to send a fire alarm to it, basically, but
he sets off the fire alarm.
He sets off the fire alarm, but they manage to take it off. That is actually what sends Tony after him, because they just hear something and then after they kill Takagi, but then it was the fire alarm that they sent Tony after.
Well, because McClane was there and he sees Takagi killed. And they hear him moving around, so they go to investigate, but they don't see anything. It's not until he pulls the fire alarm that they actually send somebody to where he is, because they know where the fire alarm was pulled. And then he uses the radio to try to he uses the radio to actually try to contact I don't remember if it was police or the fire, or I think it was the 911 line.
Yeah, it seemed like because
he's trying to contact police directly, which is why they were yelling at him to go through 911.
Yeah, because he goes to the roof to try and get in contact with 911, which basically it is great how nonchalantly the people on 911 is talking, but John is having.
Well, no, it was police dispatch, if memory serves, that he was calling.
All right,
because he couldn't contact 911, and so they were yelling at him to call 911 if he has a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And that scene's made all the better because at the end of their call, right before they're about to hang up on, this is the next thing that happens, because I forget exactly how they figured out that he was up there, but then two more guys show up.
No, because they can hear him talking on the radio.
So then, Right, so then the two guys go up to where he is, and there's gunshots while he's on the line with the police, and the line goes dead, and they go, I guess send somebody over just to check it out.
Well, the fact is they can hear the gunshots. Because you can hear the dispatch just rips off their thing because it's so loud.
Right, but then they hear these gunshots, but they don't even take it serious. Like, just send somebody over just to look at it. Who knows? Might be just a crank call. You heard fucking gunshots.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's probably so loud you probably couldn't discern if it was gunshot.
Yeah, it's also great because how this movie, just everyone of actual authority just does not give the slightest shit about anything that is going on.
No, they all are so bad at their jobs. It's amazing.
With some certain exceptions. Because in order to investigate, or to who they send off is one Sergeant Al Powell, who is Reginald Vell Johnson's character. And he is...
And just happened to be in the area getting fucking garbage snack food.
It's great because he's the only good cop in the entire fucking movie.
He is getting Twinkies for his pregnant wife.
Yeah.
They are, he is basically dispatched like, okay, go check this out. But then basically he goes, kind of pokes around, talks to the people in the lobby, which the terrorists have, or the thieves have planted someone in the lobby. So Al's like, I'm just not bothered. Like, there's nothing going on. I'm just gonna leave. And then John sees that, and basically that he's kind of casually walking away. Decides to make a more, basically give him something to see that something's going wrong. So John breaks a window and tosses one of the corpses of the guy that he
Marco.
is. Yep. He is dispatched. Oh yeah, it's because there's two guys that John, or that go after John after he makes the original call. There's also a really good scene here where, because John just kills one of them really easily, but then basically John goes under a table and basically Marco is just standing on top of the table, shooting into the table, trying to kill him, and he just it's this kind of a long conference table that kind of winds, and he gets to the very end and runs out of bullets. And Marco says to him, basically something like, "Oh, you should have killed me when you had the chance," or something like that.
It's like you're out of table now.
Yeah, it was out of table. You should have killed me when you had the chance. And then John, with his pistol, just unloads through the table back at him. He's like, "Yeah, thanks for the advice."
And like, it's interesting that a lot of the one-liners aren't puns or cheese. It's just like a dude saying stuff to them. It's really good.
Yeah, like
trying so hard.
One of the most famous lines in the movie, which is actually just like a little one-off thing, he just whispered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course we'll get to that. But so this is where it was Marco and Heinrich that go up after him. I believe he kills. I think he kills Heinrich first, and then he kills Marco.
Yep.
And then after he throws Marco out to get their attention, that's when he notices they've got a bag full of C4 detonators, and that's when he gets his hands on.
Now this is when the terrorists or whatever just start unloading on the police car.
Yeah, because John McClane tosses Marco's corpse onto the police car.
Yeah.
And then one of them has an M60, which is just unloads into the cop car as Reginald Vell Johnson runs for his goddamn life. Or drives away. And then
he's like, get the LAPD and SWAT and all that.
Yep.
So I'm not getting paid enough for this shit.
Yep. Well, yep. So... Yeah, after that happens, then the police proper shows up, and they bring like a SWAT unit, and this is where we are introduced to a character actor, which is basically, let me check what his name is, but it is we are now introduced to Deputy Police Chief Dwayne Robinson, who is played by Paul Gleason, who you might recognize as the principal from The Breakfast Club. Basically, he is a character actor known for playing just dipshits and assholes.
And they're always authority figures.
Yes, assholes of authority, which this guy most definitely is, because he is basically undermining everything that Al has seen, because at this point also John and Al start to talk. So that is a common thing that happens now.
Bonding.
Yeah. So now that SWAT's on the thing, they are trying to do do what SWAT does, which is breach the building. And basically, John is like, "No, do not do this. They are way too armed to do this. Like, don't do it." And basically, obviously, the actual police is like, "Yeah, I'm not listening to this guy. He might be one of the bad guys himself." But it goes about as well as you can imagine, because not only do they have machine guns on the very that, they also have rockets with them, which they use to just completely blow up a SWAT car. But also, before they actually attack, there is a really good scene where you can see the kind of the bad guys kind of get like all their stuff together. But you also see a little tiny scene of one of the bad guys who is played by another character actor, Al Young, who is basically might not be a name you recognize, but once you see that guy, he is basically the bad guy in a lot of different 80s action movies. He was in Big Trouble in Little China. He was also in this. He just plays bad guys. But you see a scene of him because he takes kind of hold behind a snack bar.
Yes.
So you just see him just
I felt that scene.
He just wants that crunch bar.
I felt that scene deep within me. I'm like, oh yeah. If I had the option to just take overpriced, candy, I'm gonna take that overpriced candy. I don't give a shit about the circumstance.
It's just
Gonna eat Raisinets. I don't even like Raisinets, but I'm gonna eat them anyway.
Yeah. So they just
crunch back there.
Yep. Yeah, they just completely get destroyed.
But it's another good scene because it's low key and it's just a dude grabbing candy. Way that it's presented, it's like this is a tense situation. These guys are about to get attacked by fucking SWAT dudes and all of that, and this dude's just casually like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get some candy while I'm here." Like that's an interesting theme throughout the whole movie. Is no matter how tense the situation is, there's some kind of levity to it.
It also doesn't help like the villains are very clearly like self-assured.
Yeah, they know they're gonna win. They absolutely know it. So they're just gonna kind of like take these little asides.
Yeah. So it is here where Ellis pulls his big dick bag move, and tries to is like, "Hey, I know that it's John that's causing all these problems. I'm gonna strike a deal with the terrorists." So basically, he just straight up goes to Hans and is like, "Hey, I'm a salesman. I can handle this." With the most bravado that you can imagine. Also, he is a massive idiot.
Like 100% pure cocaine salesman, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
He's that 80s guy from the future.
Pretty much.
They even bring him a Coke.
Yep. So, so Hans managed to get a hold of McClane through the radio, and now he knows his name. And basically, Ellis's ploy is that him and John McClane are like lifelong friends, which they just met. And basically, John McClane's like, "Ellis, what are you doing? You are going to get yourself killed. Don't stop talking to him." And then basically, they're like, or Hans is like, "Give me the detonators, or he dies." And then, John's like, "No, what are you doing? I'm not going to do that." And then basically, what you'd imagine happens, and then they shoot Ellis in the head. And the police hear this and are like, how could he just let that guy die?" And then basically, I was like, dude, he was dead either way. But
Like, Al's the voice
also-
of reason.
Also, an important thing is at this point, newscasters are coming out too.
yeah,
With a beautiful scene of absolutely pissing off the news anchor.
yeah,
But they got a van. They came out.
yeah. Because at this point, we are met with another another kind of set of people. Also, yeah, because there's also the newscasters. We're also met with another character actor known for playing assholes. That is because we are met with the character of Richard Thornburg, who is a newscaster for, I guess, the LA area. Where, yeah, we see him in a pissing match with another newscaster.
I think we skipped over a couple things that happened.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we skipped over them sending a helicopter up to the rooftop, and then McClane discovering that they were going to put explosives up there.
That's much later. That's much later.
No, we do see.
This is actually no. This happens right before we get to that part, because I also double checked cross reference against the actual the script and the some stuff that no, McClane doesn't discover them here. This is where they're talking to each other about it.
Yeah, but yeah, because one thing he does in order to stop the people from having the machine gun and try and have the rocket launchers, John McClane straps a whole bunch of that C4 into a chair and drops it down an elevator shaft to just blow it the hell up.
Right.
No, that was for the rocket launcher guys shooting the APC outside that they tried to use.
That's the other thing. That's what we missed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, all of the SWAT guys got shot down because, unsurprisingly, this had all been planned for. And so because of that, they then try to use an APC to breach, but it doesn't work because as it gets caught on the stairs, our lovely boys start shooting it up with a rocket launcher that they have then bolted in. Not once but twice, as John is yelling at them to have it withdraw and take out their people because they're burning alive.
Yep.
But yeah, so rolling forward again. The important thing about the newscasters there on scene. And now that everyone's heard McClane's name, everyone's checking it, cross-referencing it, seeing where he's from, trying to dig up as much information on him as they can.
Yeah.
And this is a problem.
Yes.
Wait, did we also cover the scene where Gruber and McClane actually do meet for the first time?
That's
later.
That's later.
This happens. This one does actually happen. This happens a little bit after he drops the office chair, but before Thornburg arrives.
Right. Well, they talk. They have a because after that whole thing happens with now that he knows with Ellis, basically they have a conversation where Hans is like, "Oh, you think you're cowboy?"
Well, no. This part, they actually meet in person on the rooftop. While I think Gruber was checking the explosives, Gruber masquerades as one of the hostages, and they have
that was later.
That is definitely later. That is absolutely later.
Yeah,
because there is a scene where they talk. But
this happens before the building gets shut. The power gets shut off, though.
We aren't talking about the power.
That's at the very end.
No, I'm saying like this doesn't happen. This happens fairly close to.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned
the office
power.
chair scene. No, I'm saying where
the office chair wasn't the power shutting down.
No, stop. He drops the stuff down the shaft and it explodes and all, and then Ellis gets executed, and then Gruber and McClane do meet for the first time. They cross paths. Gruber pretends to be a civilian. They have a really good back and forth. McClane gives him a gun, thinking he's a civilian. Gruber tries to shoot him, not knowing that the gun isn't loaded. And then they part ways again, and that's when the FBI comes on scene.
Yeah, that's. But the scene where he originally talks to him and he gives the line is a little bit before. I believe that is right after Ellis.
Yeah, they're having a conversation about cowboys in cowboy movies.
Where
so he eventually caps it off with the line.
And then after after that is when Thornburg arrives, and that's when like shit really starts to go downhill.
Yeah, because Thornburg, which by the way, his character, he is played by one William Atherton, who is another character who is just plays the biggest shit heels. Basically, he is Walter Peck in Ghostbusters. You know, the guy with no dick. He also showed up in Murder, She Wrote like 3 different times, played a murderer in every single appearance. A different murderer in every single appearance. But yes, he is basically he cross-references like John McClane and like where he is, like who he is. Manages to find his wife's home. And basically gets a hold of his kids. Because Holly has a maid whose name I forgot what it was, but she is essentially Hispanic, and basically Thornburg threatens to call the INS on her if she doesn't let him do what he wants, which is another sign of he being a massive asshole. But yes, after the start, things happen. We have the scene where basically Hans goes to check on the explosives and runs into McClane. He actually tries to pass himself off as one of the people that he sees. Like this, the camera shows a screen, or like not a screen, but basically a listing of names, and basically tries to pull himself as William Clay. And then basically the moment he says that name, basically John hands him a gun. And then basically John goes to move away for a second, and Hans does the thing that villains shouldn't do, which is has a monologue, where it's like thinking he's so tough, and basically he wants the detonators. He's like holding up a gunpoint to basically take the detonators, but then basically the gun that that John gave Hans was empty. And basically they have, I believe they have a little fight or something. And I know, and it is at this point where I believe Carl, because right before this, Hans summons Carl and I believe someone else. It's Carl, Franco, and Fritz are apparently the 3 bad guys who show up. Basically, at this point, they all try and shoot at McClane. And this is the point where we had the thing where that calls back to the fact that John's barefoot. Because the area that they're in has a whole bunch of glass in it. And basically, Hans sees that John is barefoot and tells all the shooters to shoot the glass, which leaves John in a basically, in order to get out of that area, he's going to have to run over broken glass, which he does because he has to.
Real quick, something I appreciate is I like the scene where fake name, you see him look up at the board, realize the name's fake. If you paid attention really quickly, you would have seen him remove the fucking magazine from the gun as he goes to hand it off to Gruber.
See, I was completely distracted by their little byplay going on, because they have a really great back and forth between the two of them.
They do, and it's, once again, completely intentional, and that's why I like it.
Yeah.
Because if you pay close attention, like, after it shoots to the board quick to show him realizing that, hey, this isn't Clay, this is wrong, he just before he goes to hands the gun, you can see him very quickly take the magazine out and unload it.
And that is another good point, is that Hans has a really good American accent, but that also comes from the fact that his actor is British. And also a really good theatrical actor.
Mm-hmm.
So German is not his native accent anyway. So, yeah. At this point, John is very hurt. And you see a lovely scene of him crawling on a bathroom floor with just a trail of blood behind him as he goes up to the sink and removes glass from his feet.
Look, speaking from experience, the worst part about having glass in your foot is not it being in your foot, but removing it from your foot.
Yep.
it is also at this point where we hear a little bit of Al's backstory, the cop, because John asks him, or because they have a conversation about being a cop, and John asks him like, okay, why are you just like a routine, like the basically behind the desk,
cop.
Yeah, beat cop, and Al mentions the fact that it's because he did not feel like using a gun after he has killed a 13-year-old.
Shot a kid.
Yeah, he shot a kid because he thought he had a toy gun. Which,
Because he had a toy gun.
He had a toy gun, which is
I mean,
timely.
if
Evergreen. It is
Yeah.
absolutely timeless.
I mean, your first one wasn't incorrect in a way, but yeah,
Yeah.
the Al in those aspects aged very poorly.
I mean, in general, this movie's really fun in a post 9/11 America.
Yeah. Like, a lot of the stuff is very timely.
I just feel like Al's backstory and also a certain part later, neither of these things age well at all. In particular,
I feel like in general, this movie has aged very strangely.
Yeah. Because, it's at this point also, we see footage of, this is when, basically, and also John has to abandon the detonators. So, now that they have the detonators, basically, they put a whole bunch of seafloor on the roof of the building. It is, at this point, the FBI has also come on the scene. They cut the building's power off. And basically, the thing is that they want this because doing so disabled the lock of the vault. But by the way,
electromagnetic shielding is essentially.
Yeah, which
They're
by the way,
keeping their drill from getting through the 7th layer of the vault.
Yeah, because all the time, everything is going on. They have had a safecracker with them, who is also a very good character. His name is Theo.
Also, their general computer whiz.
Yep.
And yeah, he's a very fun character.
Yes. So with that, they basically have the bearer bonds at this point, but they are left with the hostages. Also, one thing they do see at this point is what Richard Thornburg has been doing. He has basically gone to the house and has filmed the basically the kids trying to basically as like, oh, do you have anything to say to your parents who are locked or were in this horrible incident? And basically, it is at this point where they say that basically they give away Holly's like who she is. And basically,
not really. It's more like it's more importantly.
it's a photo.
Hans had been in Holly's office this entire time, mind you, giving these orders. And then he looks around and notices the pictures of kids, and he lifts up the picture that Holly had knocked over, and it shows
John.
It shows John McClane and then the rest of the family together in a picture, and he pieces it all together.
Yep. So, yeah, and basically at this point, they don't want to they don't want to take the hostages with them, so they say all the hostages go onto the roof. And basically, so the deal is they leave and they just blow up the roof and killing all the hostages. So, is at this point where John actually happens to also go onto the roof, or not onto the roof, but happens to finds the explosives themselves. And that is where he runs into Carl. And then they have a massive fist fight.
An absolute fucking slugfest. It is fantastic.
Yeah, which
just non-stop beating the ever-loving shit out of each other.
Which one thing I do want to point out about Carl that I think is kind of fascinating is actually his actor. It is one Alexander. Let's see. It is Alexander. And I apologize if I pronounced this wrong. Alexander Godunov. He is actually a Russian actor, born in the Soviet Union and actually defected to the country in 1979. There was actually a Russian movie about that defection called Flight 222. But yeah, he was a ballet dancer not more of an action star. So he's actually a very graceful person. But yeah, he happened to be probably well known for a lot of people as the bad guy in Die Hard.
Didn't he also die not too long after this because of alcoholism?
Yeah, he died in 1995 because he died from hepatitis.
Oh.
Which I don't think is related to alcohol.
But
he was an alcoholic, though.
He was
Yeah,
he also, his alcoholism did not help that. His death was determined to be due to complications from hepatitis, secondary to chronic alcoholism, is how it is listed here. So anyway, with that, basically, they slug it out, and John actually gets a whole lot of hits in. Like, it's a surprising amount. Like, it's nice to have a thing where it's not just, the big beefy guy, like, takes a bunch of hits and just doesn't do anything. No, he actually, feels
it's an even trade, yeah.
Yeah. But McClane wins out by managing to strangle him with a chain.
Not just strangle him with a chain, but strangle him with a chain, tie it up, and push him away so he's hanging from that chain.
Yeah.
It is, decidedly brutal.
Yes. It is at this point where, basically, he sees the C4, he's like, basically just through here, where he hears that everyone's gone to the roof. So he rushes the roof and basically chases everyone off by shooting into the air, saying, "Hey, you need to get off the roof now." There's also FBI helicopters that are circling the area, and they just start shooting at John as well.
Yeah, they're straight up gunships. It's great.
Yeah, and then John, basically with this going on, and basically
also don't forget the important part is one of the FBI guys. It's just like in Saigon.
Oh yeah, it's like one of there's an older FBI guy that's talking to a younger one. It's like, yeah, it's just like in Saigon. The other guy's like, what?
No, the other guy was like, I was in junior high.
Oh right. Which yeah. So it is at this point where Hans manages to see on a CCTV or something like that all the hostages are running away. He's like, okay, the hell with this, I'm just detonating it now. Detonates the building, but before that, John realizes that the building's about to go, and he has to get off the roof, but if he goes back onto the roof, he is going to get destroyed. So, he manages to take a fire hose and make himself a nice repelling thing. He does like a Rainbow Six thing and just straps himself in the fire hose and manages to rappel down the building, and he manages to rappel down to the 30th floor. Because the fire hose, the thing explodes as he's rappelling down. It manages to shoot through the glass and kicks through the window of the 30th floor, and almost loses it, or almost dies when the building explodes or the roof explodes, and basically the thing that was holding him down comes down with him and almost takes him down with him. But he manages to tie it off. But now he is on the 30th floor where Hans and Holly are. Also another terrorist. With that, basically, John goes after Hans, and or actually before this, basically Hans tells everyone to run away, including Theo the Cracker. It is also at this point where Argyle comes back onto the scene, because he has just been listening to all this go on. But
both on the police scanner, which he realized to turn on, as well as had been watching shit on TV, and at this point was trying to figure out a way to escape, only realizing just then that everything was shut down.
Yep. And at this point, he sees Theo escape and uses the limousine as a battering ram into the van that he's running into. And then once he rams the van, Argo just runs out of the limousine, just opens the door, and just punches Theo in the face.
It's so good.
Yes.
So stupid.
Yeah. But at this point, John realizes that he's running out of ammo. So he manages to concoct this. Basically, he's realizing, I don't have enough things. I need to think of something.
He's got 2 bullets specifically, and 2 people to kill.
Yep. So then he has the idea. You just see, like, comes to realization, and then you see a thing of tape. So then at this point, he rushes into the room that Holly, the last bad guy, and Hans are in. And Hans has Holly at gunpoint, and the other terrorist is just sitting here. By the way, the other bad guy just tries to rip the gun and just kill him immediately, and then Hans does the thing where he's like, no, he's mine. And then basically they have a monologue. Then you see what John's plan is. He has managed to tape another gun on his back. So because when he walked into the room, he was forced to throw the gun away. So he throws the empty gun away. Then basically they have a conversation. Hans is about to shoot John, but then John pulls the gun off his back and shoots the bad guy and Hans in the head.
Also, specifically, they only knew he had the SMG, which is what he threw away.
Yeah.
Not his own personal handgun that he brought with him.
And he only shoots the one guy in the head. He kind of wounds Hans. I think he shoots him in the shoulder.
Or something.
Yeah, and
enough to knock him out the window.
No. What happens is Hans grabs onto John, and he's dangling, gonna try to pull him down with him, and then John takes off his watch, and that's
which, by the way, a fun little bit of trivia about that scene. So if you take a look at that scene, you can see that, because earlier in the movie, Hans is talking about his Rolex that he had. It was Holly's, because he's holding on to Holly's Rolex. And basically, Holly actually manages to unclasp the watch, and it falls out of her hand. The best thing about that scene is you see Hans, basically the camera is looking at Hans's face as he falls to his death. The thing about that scene that's fascinating is the fact that if you just look at that, it's like, oh, Hans is like, Alan Rickman's doing some really good acting of looking terrified out of his mind. That is because when they were filming that scene, in order to do that, before you start the scene, you have to, especially if you're doing anything like a stunt like that, you usually go 3, 2, 1, go. What they did instead was they were like, oh, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, go. They instead went 3 and let him go. So Alan Rickman was actually terrified out of his mind.
It's great.
Great acting.
You can see him be very pissed off also at the same time. And Hans dies. It's at this
Spoiler
point.
alert.
Yeah.
And the chief the sergeant guy was all like, I hope that's not a hostage.
Yeah.
As he hits the ground.
Oh, yeah. So then after that, John and Holly walk out of the building, and basically Al's first are there, and they basically shake hands for the first time, and then Dwayne Johnson or Robinson is being an asshole. It's like, you know how much cost you did? I'm gonna nail you up for this sort of stuff. But at this point, basically Carl burst out because apparently he didn't die.
Covered in
gun. And basically tries to kill John. But that is when Al saves the day by pulling out his gun again for his time, because he swore to shoot his gun. And
all he had to do was imagine it was a child, and he was good to go.
The cop finally gets back his ability to use his gun. The other thing that didn't age.
Look, all he had to do was imagine it was that same child.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That is also, and then right after that, Richard Thornburg is on the scene and walks up to Holly and John and tries to oh, hey, well, what do you feel? How do you feel about this? Or tell us about your experiences. To which Holly just decks him in the face.
And we all cheer.
And then that is...
And they get into Argyle's limo.
Yeah, they get into Argyle's limo, and then they roll off, and Let It Snow plays, and that's the end of the movie.
And it's not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's not a Christmas movie.
God, I could not have planned that even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
No, but I know there is a non argument about whether or not it is a Christmas movie, and honestly, it's definitive. It takes place at Christmas. Christmas does have a central role in the whole thing because the timing of it, allows the terrorists to take over the building, and it's peppered with Christmas music. It's a Christmas movie. Christmas imagery. It's a Christmas movie. Let it go. It's okay.
It doesn't fucking matter. It's the most important thing. None of it fucking matters.
And I want to say it's a better Christmas movie than A Christmas Story, and it will die on that hill.
I mean, that is true.
It's true, I know.
So, yeah, that's Die Hard.
So, like, I kind of want to let you just run through the whole thing, but like, the one thing that I noticed was so interesting about this movie is because I've seen bits and pieces of the other movies as well, and what's so interesting to me about this movie is how low key it is. It's not in your face. It's not explosions everywhere. It's not ridiculous scenarios and all that. It's just a very straightforward, like very not subtle, but just like, I don't want to keep saying low key, but the fighting isn't pronounced. It's just fighting. There's no drama to it. It's just fighting. And that's what this movie is. It's just the movie. It's not frills and shit.
It's very smart, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, it's not even like a competent movie. It's an action film.
Yeah.
I also appreciate that, like, Alan Rickman's a good fucking villain. Just straight up. Yeah. There's nothing.
Alan Rickman was a fantastic actor.
But like, all of the characters play it smart.
Yeah.
It's just John McClane's good at being a thorn in his ass, but like, doesn't feel like a larger than life character, which is nice.
This movie, the writing, and just everything around it really plays to the strengths of the two main characters, McClane and Gruber. Like, both Willis and Rickman's acting abilities, I felt like they really worked within those ranges. They didn't like try to push them too hard outside of it, but they found what each one was really good at, and they focused on that. And they made that important, like, central to each character.
I feel like it helps that at this point, both of them weren't really established in the way that they would both come to be.
Yeah, you didn't have Bruce Willis pigeonholed as an action.
Also, also speaking of acting, because I also saw another thing on this thing because we mentioned earlier that Arnold Schwarzenegger turned it down. There's actually there's a long list of actors who apparently turned down this role, including Richard Gere, Clint Eastwood, Burt Reynolds, Sylvester Stallone, Harrison Ford, Don Johnson, Nick Nolte, Mel Gibson, and my personal favorite, Richard Dean Anderson.
Fucking what?
Yeah. MacGyver was almost...
Some of those I could see working, and then some...
I can't imagine anyone other than Bruce Willis at this point, because he does it so incredibly. He's like the right level of, like, schlub.
Yeah. Gere would never work at all, period. There's just nothing action-y about Gere in any way.
I kind of want to see a Richard Dean Anderson version of Die Hard, though.
Burt Reynolds, though, I don't know. I feel like
the mustache alone would destroy all the terrorists.
Yeah, I just like I see Burt Reynolds, and I don't see somebody. But I guess I'm a by his appearances on Archer and Saints Row, and just the kind of meme that Reynolds became later in life. But and Clint Eastwood is absolute no go for almost the same reason as Arnold Schwarzenegger. Eastwood was too serious. He could have never pulled off the schlubby, hero against his will type of character. He couldn't have done that.
That's what I mean. Is like John McClane is not like a larger than life character, which is why a lot of those people could not pull him off quite right.
He was an everyman, thrust into a situation he did not want to be in.
Yeah.
Plus, Richard Gere did nothing but like terrible romantic comedies, so I could never see him.
Yeah.
Doing no.
But
also, rest in peace, Burt Reynolds.
Yes.
It's just also once again like I feel like in this movie the pacing is really good, but also no little detail is wasted.
Yeah,
like everything comes back in some capacity.
It's just filled with Chekhov's guns, but they're done in such a really sly and interesting.
It feels a lot more natural.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I just appreciate it. I appreciate it as the template for future action films because it does everything in moderation, and it knows when to let things out and when to just hold back just enough so that once you get to that actual piece where everything pays off, and then you go back and you, like you say, you see all the little details like him slipping out the magazine. And it just makes you appreciate how good of a movie it was. And also, it kind of shines a light on all the movies that have tried to be like it and how they missed all of those little things that made this movie so definitive as an action.
Even in the same fucking franchise.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause those
Looking at you, Live Free, Die Hard.
God, yeah, those sequels did happen, didn't they?
Yeah. It's just so, and you know what? I draw the comparison to the Saw franchise because the first film, very subdued, it had a very specific message, it was very intelligently written, and then the remaining films completely missed what made the first film so successful and so good.
Yeah.
And this series definitely fell into that trap.
Oh yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
I think this movie is absolutely incredible for so many fucking reasons. It's
And it holds up.
Also, once again, I appreciate an action movie where the main character gets absolutely fucking brutalized the whole way through.
The untouchable action hero is one of the most boring heroes you could come up with, and they just made an everyman who gets his ass kicked but still can think his way through.
Yeah. So I think at this point, we can probably start ranking this.
We could.
So, yep. So if you are not familiar with this show, we have our 1 to 21 scale, where 1, which is also rainbow colored. So 1, which is at violet scale, which we consider Universal Mastercraft, which is a movie that is just beyond the pale. Like, it is just fantastic. It is just fantastic. And then we have go all the way down to 21 at red, which is don't even bother, which is like, it's not, there is no redeeming qualities about it.
So Axe, my question to you: 2 or 1?
So yeah, here's the thing. So right now we're in the early phases of this thing. Right now we have only 2 other things at this point. We have Dirty Pair Project Eden, which we consider to be a phenomenal movie, which we have ranked at 3. And Area 88, the OVA series, which we have ranked at 9, which we thought was pretty good with some... Wish the ending acted or was a little bit different, but whatever. So...
2 or 1?
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, okay, 2 or 1.
Okay. I'm going to say 1. And
I'm going to say 1 because it is just the fucking pinnacle, really.
The only complaints I even have are very minor things that just they wouldn't have known at that time, centered around a single character. Other than that, it's almost a perfect film in terms of what it's trying to do, the way that the actors are, where the characters are portrayed, the writing, all the little things here and there that sort of wrap together. It's a fantastic film.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, I could definitely see it also at 2 because it is also real good. But I don't really think because I'm trying to think, like, if you think about 1, it's like you're trying to think of things that could do better. But
I mean, can you think of a film that does what Die Hard does, but better?
I can't. That's the thing.
And that's why I want to say...
It is one of the single finest action movies out there.
The other thing to think about is, how does it hold up? Like, if you think about just movies in general, if you're not an action... if you're not an action fan, even then, it's still a pretty smart movie other than that.
Yeah, because if you think about the action scenes themselves, right? They're not spectacles. They're not... It's not... There's no, like... The action scenes don't take away from the film. You don't stop everything and hear bang, 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 bang. Like, every single scene seems to kind of fit and feel like it needs to be there. Like, if you took any of the scenes out in this movie, I feel like it would absolutely affect the film.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not.
Like
I'm not a
it's
big
a
action.
2 hour long movie, but I feel like none of that time is wasted. Honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Even the stuff with Argyle has some value to each. I wouldn't take any of the Argyle scenes. Kind of mostly fluff, but they're valuable fluff that sort of gives you an idea of the stuff that's going on outside of what's
And what
happening.
outsiders might see this whole situation as.
Right,
despite him
exactly.
being in it.
Yeah, it's just a good goddamn movie.
It's a good fucking movie.
And I feel like this also adds to it as well. Is again, it spawned an entire genre of action. So many movies have tried to ape Die Hard's formula and have failed because Die Hard wasn't just an action film; it was an intelligent movie. And I think that's the key thing here.
Yeah.
I don't think this movie could be anything but a one. Quite honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And also Alan Rickman. Don't
Yes.
forget Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman.
Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman, Alan Rickman
So-
at his first, and Bruce Willis at his prime.
Doubly, it's an amazing movie, but also it's a movie that I feel like can never be replicated.
Absolutely not.
And every time
No,
it's
like,
been
it-
tried, it fails miserably.
It happened in the most perfect of circumstances that can never happen again.
It also has Carl Weathers. I mean,
No, it doesn't.
I know,
Because,
it's not Carl Weathers, but it's still Carl Weathers.
As Max is saying in like the chat, it's not just Alan Rickman. It was like Alan Rickman and Bruce Willis before they had certain established
Yeah.
like characters and archetypes to them.
And also, like, usually when somebody makes their film debut, it's not really that great of a performance because it's their first debut. This is Alan Rickman showing that he had such good going into this film.
Also, technically, this is also Bruce Willis's first action role too.
Yeah.
Was this Alan Rickman's first movie? Period.
It's his first movie. It
Right.
wasn't his
So
first
think.
Yeah.
But see,
Right.
that's the thing is like Alan Rickman was classically trained, which was
Okay.
actually very important.
All right. Well, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, just this being both of them's first action film, and for them to pull it off this way, it's phenomenal, and it speaks a lot for the direction as well as the writing.
But once again, like I feel like the importance here is that these people hadn't been pigeonholed at this point.
Yeah.
Like it was both their first time doing action, and I feel like it was better for it.
Yeah.
Because you
It's just-
get a genuine performance out of it
Yeah.
versus the expected performance.
It's just all of this happened in the most perfect circumstances possible to create this absolute masterpiece. I feel like that's also kind of what helps define sort of mastercrafts, is they happen under conditions that could never possibly be replicated.
And then they go on and they
Yeah.
either create a new genre or they serve as the template for that genre.
Yeah, and the reason why I have the Universal Mastercraft, or specifically the 1 rating, and not just because 1 through 3 is all Mastercraft on its own, but why I have the Universal Mastercraft is it's not just one that it was good at the time. It was good, stays good, and it stays good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I saw this movie for the first time last year, and I absolutely fell in love with it.
and this was my first R-rated movie I ever saw, and it was that, at least that's what I remember. Like
I think mine was History of the World Part 1.
That's not bad. But
My
yeah.
parents weren't happy about it. But yeah, no, this
I can imagine.
it got banned immediately. But yeah, no, this movie holds up. And that's such a big thing. For an action movie to hold up like this speaks volumes.
Yeah, it is just phenomenal.
It's a good fucking movie.
Die Hard is the Princess Bride of action movies.
I've never watched Princess Bride.
It is a perfect film, and you should watch it.
I'll watch it eventually, I'm sure.
And I think there's a Princess Bride video game. I'm gonna check.
I don't think there is, but anyway, yes. So just going to other things in the list. This is definitely an action movie. It was theatrical release. Director was John McTiernan. Released in 1988. Episode 6. Tone. Because
Not sure on this list.
Because the thing is, some of the tones we have that might fit. We have cool, we have angry.
No.
Cool.
I don't feel like cool fits.
We have an 80s tone.
I'd say 80s. I mean, look at all the cocaine.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, I think cocaine on its own just makes it an 80s film.
Is that just a cocaine emoji?
Just just no. Put if you get a David Lee Roth emoji.
I don't think. No, is there? There's salt, but it doesn't look like what I was hoping it would look like. Anyway, yes, it is 80s as all hell. And also based on the discussion we had with the last episode, would we feel that? I mean, would we feel that this movie is more, or would we feel that the game?
The game is interesting by 100%.
Yeah,
let's talk about the
it's a passion game. It's not.
Let's talk about the game for a second, because I do want to point out that I do think that what they tried to do with the game, how, I mean, there are other Die Hard games we have not taken a look at, but the NES one is the one that we have ranked so far. How it tried to do a kind of almost like a run-based kind of thing before that was even popular. That was kind of the best way you could do that movie, or like do a game based on the movie. It has things from the movie, like it has like this. You start like you can't go until 4:30 until but they've done the lock. Like it's like the movie. But yeah, it is neat. But yeah, I would definitely not say that I would prefer playing the game to watching the movie.
No, you do not get the same sense of film from the game that you do from watching the movie.
Like it is surprisingly like, I mean, the game just straight out uses scenes from the movie in like sprite form. But yeah, it's just no. As someone who actually kind of likes Die Hard for the NES, I would still not say it is.
Wouldn't
better.
you put a thumbs up then?
No, I would say no. It is the original, or the game is worse.
Wouldn't we have to change that for Project Eden then?
No, because right.
Yeah, because are you asking if the game is better or
I did that
worse?
backwards there. Okay, well,
Yeah.
You did it backwards.
I should just remove this column.
Yeah, it's.
I'm not liking
I
this
feel like
column.
you should repurpose that column.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd be better served a different way, but
Yeah. Anyway,
Like how does it compare to the game?
yeah, which is better.
But then you need to define. But then you need to define.
yeah, that's why it's. We'll workshop it, whatever.
Yeah, that's for a different time. I realize I need to put that on the table. Anyway, content.
What's a pH in a G?
language? So photosensitivity and elements of like sexual stuff. There's
H for horny.
yes.
Okay.
But I mean, there's nudity in it, but it's not.
Yeah, you get titty.
It's not that. It's
Well,
it's not what it's going for.
Yeah, the nudity in it is just sort of ancillary.
It was purely
or is it
background, and they
auxiliary?
never draw attention to it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So
It's
that
auxiliary.
I'm not going to mark that. There's also, I mean, language is definitely a thing.
Violence.
Violence.
There's definitely blood.
I mean, there's blood. Because I think I only mark it for gore. Is really.
I guess I feel
there's
like I don't know.
not
Some
this
people are
wasn't-
squeamish when it comes to blood too, though.
Oh yeah. I also
Light-handed.
taking the glass out of the foot. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Light-hearted gore?
Well,
Like,
Like played for jokes, played for laughs.
Like, Mortal
okay. So
Kombat.
like Cannibal the Musical.
Well, like I was thinking, like
Sure.
like the original, or like the Mortal Kombat's where there's like 15 rib cages.
Okay. All right.
Also, I could probably phrase it a little better. Anyway,
Yeah, just because there's a lot of blood, and also the very graphic glass removal.
Yeah.
Music, not really.
So yeah,
There's
just to
nothing
go through the
notable
other
with
things
music.
that we have music, charm, cinematography, story, action scenes, artistry.
So I want to say right now, Christmas music is trash and garbage, and I would live a happy life.
Yeah, I'd say everything except for the first and last. I'd give a thumbs up.
Yeah, because the chart. I mean, it has a really good style to it. Cinematography is fantastic. The story, for what it did, was actually really good, and it's written really smartly.
Yeah, the minutiae is where it really gets me, not the overall plot, but just the nitty-gritty.
Because the plot itself is very bare bones, but when you start to dig a little deeper, there's lots of little
The
things.
writing is really good.
Yes, it is.
But like aesthetically, it's just like standard modern urban stuff.
The byplay between Willis and Rickman, and I've already forgotten the officer's real last name.
Reginald
Officer
Bell Johnson.
Chubbs.
Bill Johnson. Like, the three of them have such great, like, back and forth between
It's
all
really
of
good
them.
chemistry.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
And also Paul Gleason and William Atherton filling those pigeonholes really well.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they got pigeonholed, because they're really freaking good at it.
Okay, so what are the yays again? I need to be sure.
You could always open the thing, you know?
Kiss my ass.
So it's definitely not campy. I mean, we have just plain cool. I don't know if Made of Abundant Love would count. That one called Simply Fun.
No, and like looking at the other more general purpose stuff, you still need specific ones for movies. Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, we need. That's another thing. We can workshop that when we figure out what to do with that other thing.
Yeah, what do you think of the level design of this movie?
I need a.
I hate this buggy ass movie. I'm tired of it.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I would say this is definitely a simply fun. You know, it's,
Yeah, well, the Simply Fun thing is more. There's a lot of complex things happening. Like Simply Fun is just it's just popcorn, eye candy kind of thing.
okay.
It's like. Unfortunately, there's no Commando video game, so we can't take a look at it. But I
feel like we could have put Simply Fun for the Street Fighter movie.
We probably could have.
Hindsight 2020.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're just getting into this. We're still in the single digits.
We're working at the bugs.
Yeah.
Too bad we've already peaked with Die Hard. It's all downhill from here.
I mean, we got stuff coming up.
I can't wait till we do Silent Hill, because I got thoughts.
That's
I don't
gonna
believe you.
That's going to be a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I think that's pretty good for Die Hard.
Had a good color palette.
I just realized I need to fix something else. Anyway, to
be fair, good color palette could actually apply to a movie.
It could.
yeah, like Sin City.
Yeah, like Sin City, actually. You're right. It's
Schindler's
very
List.
good use of color.
Like that for artistry has no charm at all.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, that is going to do it for us talking about Die Hard. So before we go, Axe, is there anything you want to plug?
I've got a Twitch stream that is twitch.tv/Axum, and I've also published a book. If you're interested, I can give you more details in another way.
Okay.
Yep.
Les, you got anything?
Nope.
Okay. Torpo?
Twitch.tv/TorpidTypist. But also, I need to plug the holes in my feet from all this glass.
Yeah.
I fucking hate you.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that is going to do it for Die Hard. So, yeah, with that, next week we are taking a look at another interesting live-action movie, but one that is kind of different in tone. Actually, by kind of different, I mean very different, because we are taking a look at the live-action Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah! Fucking love it so much. It's so good.
Yeah.
Already ranking it a 1, by the way.
Well, we might have to fight about that. Anyway.
I'll make you test your might.
I mean, it is better than it has any right to be, but we'll see.
Also known.
So yes, that will be next week's episode. So again, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening to Media Delta. If you want to see the full ranking list for yourself, you can go to r3.ldp.life in your browser, and that will take you straight to the list. If you would like to watch Retro Ink Rhapsody, this show's sister series in which we play the games that the shows that we are talking about on Media Delta are based on, you can watch them be recorded live on Twitch at twitch.tv/loadedpuzzlo. Episodes are recorded live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays, and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. Or, alternatively, you can watch all episodes on YouTube by going to youtube.ldp.life. You can follow the show's Twitter by going to @HazeltownStory, or my personal Twitter, @LoloThePuzzlo. If you want to discuss the show with others, you can join the official Discord channel by going to discord.ldp.life in your browser, where you can also vote in polls to determine what episodes will be coming next for both Retro Rank Rhapsody and Media Delta. Again, thank you all for listening, and I hope that you come back for the next episode.